Welcome to Yoga 77. My name is Jackie. Today we'll be working through a short, very mindful practice to bring awareness to the lower back, the lower spine, the pelvis. So we'll be working through pelvic tilts and also undulating bridges. So feel free to lie down on a mat, blanket, towel, whatever you have. Make sure it's a firm, solid surface, somewhere where you are supported. And so just begin by bringing your feet about hip distance apart, just checking in the feet are parallel, and you might even just spread the toes out. And then just make your way down onto your back. Feel free to bring your feet a little closer if you need to. And just find any adjustments as you arrive, so that you arrive in what feels like your neutral spine. So you haven't changed anything, you're really just observing how that feels in your body today. And you might keep your arms just by your side. You might like to bring them out wide in a cactus arm shape by bending through the elbows, or out a little wider, reaching out. And then as you're ready, see if you can begin to draw the spine down towards your mat or towards the ground. So you're closing that little hollow between your spine and your mat or the ground. And then let the gap come back again. Now, taking this movement, you're keeping your buttocks down on the ground, on the mat. And so it's a tilting motion through your pelvis. And so you might even pop your hands on top of your pelvis and notice that tilting back as you close the gap, bringing spine towards the ground. And then tilt your pelvis forward, making that little gap come back. You might even be able to slide your hand under between your spine and your mat. And so just continue this movement, tilting forward and tilting back. And just take this movement as big, as little, as fast, slow, as you like. But give yourself time to bring awareness to the movement, how it feels. Beginning to notice if you can isolate the sensation, the feeling of your pelvis tilting forward and back. You might notice your tailbone lifting and then lowering. And the invitation is to bring a coordination with your breath. And so you might exhale as your pelvis tilts forward, spine away from the mat. And you might inhale as you draw your spine down towards the mat, tilting your pelvis back. Nice. And then the invitation is to keep working with this movement. Again, an inhale as you draw the spine down towards the mat, tilting pelvis back. Exhaling as you tilt your pelvis forward, spine comes away from your mat. And the other invite, the next move, if you want to, is to, if they're not there already, bring your arms by your side. And then next time you tilt your pelvis back, spine comes down towards the mat. Again, it might be on your inhale, starting to float that left arm up and overhead. And then as you tilt your pelvis forward, little gap comes back, let the arm float back alongside you. And then take that again, but just switching your arms, so taking it with the right arm or reaching up and overhead. And as you tilt your pelvis forward, bringing the arm back down by your side. Again, tilting the pelvis back, left arm floats up and overhead. And it doesn't have to come all the way back to the floor. It might just come part way back. Really nice. In fact, you might bring your arm as far back is when your inhale finishes, and then on your exhale, drawing it back. And so really trying to move in flow with your body, with your breath, as if your arm and your spine and your pelvis are moving as one. If they don't move as one, that's okay. Remembering it is always a practice, not a perfect. And you just might take another one of those to each side. Knowing it can be a little bit confusing at first if you haven't tried anything like this before, knowing that is quite normal. And then you might give it a go with both arms at the same time. So again, as your pelvis tilts back, reaching arms overhead, and then as your pelvis tilts forward, letting the arms come back down by your side. Again, it might be an inhale as you extend the arms up, pelvis tilts back. Exhaling, arms float back down, pelvis tilts forward. Again, breathing in, noticing that length, that extension, and then exhaling as the pelvis tilts forward. Really nice. And just maybe take another one or two of these. And you might keep working with just the pelvic tilts, or you might start to lift your hips towards the ceiling. So your buttocks float up and off your mat. It might just be a little bit. And then on your exhale, lower back down. Again, you might invite that pelvic tilt. So the pelvis tilts forward. Really nice. And then tilt the pelvis back. Ground down with the soles of your feet. Lift the buttocks up and off your mat. And you might still be working with the arms. If you've let the arms go for a bit, that's perfectly okay. You might choose to bring them back in. And so again, as you tilt the pelvis back, spine comes down towards the floor, ground down with the soles of the feet, and the arms might float up and overhead at the same time. Really nice. And then floating the arms down, lowering the spine, lowering the buttocks. Again, your pelvis might tilt forward, making that hollow come back between the spine and the mat. And just continue through this motion. Pelvis tilts back, lifting your buttocks up and off, hips towards the ceiling, arms float up, maybe overhead. Exhaling, lowering down, noticing if your spine, your hips, your arms, your pelvis can be moving smoothly as if they are connected. And of course, the final add-on is really to see if you can connect your movement to your breath. And if it doesn't feel connected, that's perfectly okay. Knowing that those muddly sort of days that feel like nothing feels connected are quite normal. We all have them. And then if that's working for you, feel free to keep working with that, or you can always come back to keeping the buttocks down and just working with the pelvic tilts. Knowing this is your practice, really taking time to embody these movements. You might come into some stillness, just let that settle wherever you are. And your stillness might be at the top of your bridge. You might even, if you're still working on arms extending, you might be staying still with the arms reached out above your head. If you're taking this option, really ground down with the soles of your feet and activate your legs by almost drawing your inner thighs together, your knees together, almost like you're drawing your body into center. Notice the activation of your glutes. See if you can soften your belly here and then come back to your breath. Just notice if there's any gripping that's come into your neck. You might even just take your head very gently, really teeny tiny side to side, just to make sure that the neck is still soft. And when you are ready to come down, again, very, very slowly, very, very mindfully, you might bring your awareness from the top of your spine, noticing your vertebrae, just articulating all the way back down, arms floating down at the same time-ish. Hips might lower, arms come down, maybe that'll tilt the pelvis. And then just take any other free movement here. You might just be letting the knees come side to side, again almost like a little massage to your pelvis, your lower spine, your sacrum. Really nice. And then come back into stillness, bring that activation back into your core by tilting the pelvis back, belly button drawing towards your spine, and then ground down with your left foot and bring your right leg up towards your belly. So hugging your knee in, but take it really gently if there's any lower back pain. If there's no pain, you might draw that leg in a little closer. But keep the activation through the belly, so belly button still drawing down to the spine, like you're drawing your spine down towards the mat, so that gap is no longer there. And it's almost like you're tucking your lower ribs down, so keeping everything nice and centered. Just check in on the shoulders that they're not creeping up near your ears. Check in with your neck, and just stay here for a few breaths. You might even just take some movement, rocking side to side. And again, just checking in the top of your the leg, the insertions at the top of the hamstring to the connections into the lower spine. Just checking how everything feels here. You might notice some interesting spots, taking it into more of a circling motion one way and then the other. Really nice. You might notice the front of your quad muscles here. Really just noticing what there is to notice. It's really a time to explore, but especially noticing that activation through your core, drawing into center. Notice what's happening into your pelvis, keeping everything stable really. And then as you're ready, bring that foot back down. You might just bring your feet together and then toe heel your feet out, just checking they're somewhat even and balanced, and then ground down with the right foot. Again, just draw the pelvis back, drawing the spine down, belly button towards spine. Again, bring that activation in, everything's stable before you bring that leg up. And just keep that foundation, that grounding of your right foot down into your mat. And then again, just drawing your left leg, knee in towards your belly. Again, just noticing how that feels in your lower spine in particular, and just be mindful how far you're drawing your leg in. You don't have to bring it far. And then again, feel free to take some movement. So you might be just taking it side to side. You might be circling. And again, really just a time to observe. Just check in again on your shoulders, that no gripping has crept in, or the shoulders haven't snuck up near the ears. Noticing a sense of smoothness and ease through your breath. Feel free to make the movement a little bigger, a little smaller. Nice. And then you might invite the right leg to come up as well. So taking one knee in each hand. Again, you might just take the movement side to side. You might take it into circles, and you might keep the legs together, taking those circles. Or you might like to bring the circles so they come in opposite directions. So bringing the knees out and away from each other. Take the circles one way and then the other. Nice. And just let that go. And then toe heel your feet out wide this time to the edges of your mat, and just let the knees knock in together. And you might stay here for as long as you like in your final resting position after this short practice to bring awareness to your lower spine, into your pelvis. And so if you're closing your practice now with me, you might bring your hands to your heart, just acknowledging your practice. Have a wonderful rest of your day, your evening. Go well. Namaste.